Okay, so you're very welcome to the course. I normally say you're very welcome to the Dublin Buddhist Centre. That feels a bit weird actually, because I'm not actually in the Dublin Buddhist Centre. Like all of you, I'm sure I'm in. I don't know if lockdown is the correct term or whatever we're calling it now, but I'm here in my house in Drumcondra. I live with other Buddhists, so we have a nice space here. We have a Buddhist shrine and everything. And I'm here with Kevin, my housemate. He's just sitting across the room from me. So if you see me gesticulating to someone over there, it's Kevin. But welcome to the Dublin Buddhist Centre nonetheless. My name is Vajrashura, so I have a strange Buddhist name. I'll come back to that in a minute. And we're going to be doing the course together, hopefully over the next few weeks. Just in case I forget to say it, that the course has been recorded, and I'll make it available afterwards as well if you want to listen to it again. And the course will only have my face on it. None of you will be visible on that. The recording, that is, yeah. Okay, so to say a bit about myself, my name is Vajrashura. I learned to meditate in 1999, so that was about coming up to 21 years ago now. I learned while I was in college as a student with someone from the Dublin Buddhist Centre, or the Dublin Meditation Centre as it was called then. And I was doing I was doing a postgrad well, my undergrad was theoretical physics, and then I was doing a postgrad in high performance computing. And I used to live in my head a lot. I was programming a lot. I was on computers a lot, and I found meditation a real blessing actually. I took to it straight away, and I really enjoyed it. I remember in particular walking through Trinity College after being there for about 5 years at that point, or 6 years, I can't remember exactly, and seeing the trees in the campus as if for the first time after doing the practices that we'll be doing today. It really opened up something again in me that was a bit kind of wilting a bit. So I love meditation. I mean, obviously it helps me calm down, helps me be less stressed. It helps me be a bit more positive, and they're really important. But I think it's even more than that. It's something about helping me to be the kind of person I want to be in the world, and be able to respond creatively to the world around me, and to not be always at the mercy of my reactions and my, habits and so on. So I really love meditation. And in around 2002, I started working for the Dublin Buddhist Centre. So I've been working in the Dublin Buddhist Centre ever since then. And in 2007, I was ordained into the Triratna Buddhist order. So that's why I have the strange name, and that's why I have what's called a kesa around my neck. So I'm a member of a Buddhist order called the Triratna Buddhist order, which the Dublin Buddhist Centre is part of. It's a worldwide Buddhist community. And what it means to be ordained is that you're living a full-time Buddhist life. You're really trying to bring the values of Buddhism into your life. Be that working in the Buddhist Centre, be that as an order member, raising a family, being that working in a normal job, whatever it is, as an order member, you're committing to an ethical Buddhist life. So maybe I'll just let Kevin introduce himself as well then. So I'll just mute my own microphone so he can speak.
Okay, so I'm Kevin, and I'm a practicing Buddhist as well. And as Vajrashura said, I live in the same house. I actually live in a house exclusively of Buddhists. We all practice Buddhism together, meditation together. And I've been meditating for about 6 years. About 6 years ago, I went to the Dublin Buddhist Centre, and I've not looked back since. I've just gained so much from making that decision, and I'm also training to be ordained into the Buddhist order, the Triratna Buddhist order that Vajrashura has mentioned. So I've supported a lot of courses in my time of volunteering at the centre, and but I have to say, doing this yesterday was quite a different experience, and it's quite a new and exciting way of teaching meditation, and so it's pretty cool to have 55 participants here and 100 yesterday, and it's just very excited about this. So I hope you benefit from it as well. Your interactions with me will be mainly through the chat box, so you won't really hear a lot from me. But any kind of questions that you have at all, you can put them into the chat box, either to everyone or to me directly. And anything about the meditation as well, I can relay to Vajrashura instead of him getting a lot of questions in while he's going through some of the the teaching, I can relay it to him, and I'm sure he will address it. So that's my role today and for the rest of the course. So thanks.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kevin. So just to say a bit about the Dublin Buddhist Centre. So the Dublin Buddhist Centre is a not-for-profit religious charity. We were set up in 1991, and ever since then we've been going, just making meditation, making Buddhism, making yoga available to people to explore. Really what we want to do in the Dublin Buddhist Centre is just offer people tools for helping to improve the quality of their lives. And so that's why we offer these courses. You know, Kevin and I don't get paid specifically for doing these courses. We're volunteering to teach these courses. We're not in it for the money. We want to make things like meditation available to people in Dublin, to people in Ireland, to help improve the quality of their lives. And we're really delighted to be able to offer like meditation just today, for example, to so many people. So just to give an overview of the course, I'm just going to share my screen now, just so you can see, have a sense of the overview of the course. So if you can see your screen at the moment, this is an overview of what we were doing in the next 5 weeks. So obviously next week we'll be going back to Thursday mornings. This week we're doing introductions. We're doing the mindfulness of breathing. We're doing mindfulness, and we're exploring the mindfulness of breathing practice. In week 2, we'll look more at the foundations or the applications of mindfulness. So in a way, we'll be taking a deeper dive into what mindfulness is next week again. In the 3rd week, we'll look at another meditation practice, which is cultivating loving kindness for yourself and for others. And this is a very transformative practice as well. So the core of meditation, as I'll say in a few minutes, really is about developing mindfulness and developing emotional positivity. So this practice is particularly aimed at cultivating emotional positivity, loving kindness, and so on. And then in week 4, we're going to look at what hinders us and what helps us in meditation. So one of the first things you notice in meditation is that you tend to get distracted. And so we'll look at what hinders us in meditation and what helps us in meditation in that week. And then in week 5, we'll look at how we can keep our practice going after the course. So while you're coming back each week, it can be very useful to have the course. It can help us to really feel supported in what we're doing. And after the course, you won't have that anymore. You'll have lots of other events in the Dublin Buddhist Centre if you want to come along to them. But we'll specifically talk about that then, and other things you can do to keep your meditation practice going. And the aim of the course is to help you set up your own meditation practice at home. That's what we're aiming to do. And we'll be asking you to meditate at home each day from today yourself as well. And we'll be offering you guided meditations and so on to support that. We'll also be giving out full notes at the end of this session. So I'll email those to you today, probably a little after lunch with the video. And there'll be guided meditations as well and so on. And just to say that even though I'm a Buddhist order member, Kevin's a Buddhist and training for ordination, you're in effect virtually in a Buddhist centre. You don't have to be a Buddhist to do these practices. The course is aimed at anyone who wants to learn how to meditate. We're not really evangelizing for Buddhism as such. So if you're interested in Buddhism, we can talk about that. But it's just about offering really good techniques that you can use to improve the quality of your lives. The analogy we use is that you don't have to be a German to drive a BMW, and you don't have to be a Buddhist to use these Buddhist practices and to benefit from them. Yeah. Okay, so to give a sense of what we're going to do today, let me just find, there it is again. Okay, so I'll just share the screen. So what we're going to do, oops, wrong one, sorry, my apologies. Okay, so what we'll do today is we'll do, I'm used to running these courses in the evening, so that's why it says tonight there. I'll have to change that. We'll have some introductions, which we're already doing. I'll say a bit about posture, and then we'll go into a period of the body scan, which is a nice practice for helping us become more embodied and in touch with our bodies. I'll talk a bit about what mindfulness is. We'll do the mindfulness of breathing meditation practice after I talk about how to do it. And then we'll look at home practice, and we'll take a few questions at the end as well. So that'll take us up to about midday. So that's just to give a sense of what we'll be doing this morning. Okay. So, so let's look briefly at what meditation is. And I'm not going to spend very long on this because meditation, in the principles of meditation, meditation is something that's very much best done rather than talked about. So we're going to spend a good chunk of this morning doing meditation rather than just talking about it. I know I'm talking a lot already, but we are going to do some meditation in a few minutes. And at its core, meditation is a way of changing your mind. It's a way of transforming your mind. And obviously, I mean transforming your mind for the better. It wouldn't be much good if it transformed your mind for the worst. But so what it does is it upgrades our mind. It helps us to respond better to what happens to us in our lives. If we experience difficulties, meditation can help us work more creatively with those difficulties. It can actually help those difficulties to pass more quickly as well. And if life is pretty good, not everyone comes to a meditation course because they're having difficulties. I came because I was curious, really, when I first came along. And if meditation is good, if your life is good, meditation can help you enjoy and appreciate that even more fully. Often when we're enjoying things, we get too worried about the enjoyment ending and then we don't enjoy it anymore. Meditation can, for example, help us to really appreciate those positive moments that we have as well. And Buddhist meditation all boils down really to a few not little things, but a few core areas. One is cultivating awareness, as I've said. I'll come back to that later on. The second is cultivating positive emotion, like loving kindness, appreciation, gratitude. And the third then is using those positive states of mind to live a bit more in tune with how things really are, as Buddhists say, to live more in tune with the true nature of things. So seeing, for example, the ever-changing nature of things, not taking things so personally when things happen to us, realizing that, there's always going to be a certain degree of dissatisfaction in life, and knowing where to look for true meaning. That's the kind of thing that Buddhists mean when they say seeing the true nature of things. So that tends to happen on the basis of awareness and kindness, and hopefully you get a flavor of that in the meditation as well and over the course. The main thing that you learn from meditation is that you have a choice about how you want to think and feel about things. Yeah, you have a choice about how you want to respond to things. So instead of just reacting mindlessly to situations that happen to us, we can actually respond creatively and with care and concern, rather than taking things really personally or flying off the handle or whatever it is that we normally do, or getting really depressed. So we have a choice about how we want to respond to things that happen to us. And these are drawn from the Buddhist tradition. So Buddhists have been practicing these for 2,500 years. The Buddha practiced, for example, the practice we'll do tonight on the night of his enlightenment. It said the mindfulness of breathing. This morning, on the night of his enlightenment. So they are very old and tested practices that are very effective. And then briefly, what meditation is not. So it's not escapism. So meditation is about getting more in touch with our experience and transforming that experience for the better and being in a more creative relationship with our experience. Escapism is trying to get away from your experience. And one of the ways we've communicated this course is that we're probably pretty good at all the ways of which you try and get away from your experience at the moment in the lockdown. Netflix, binge eating, junk food, television, news, over watching news, putting too much pressure on your one walk to solve everything, arguments, flatmates, all those kinds of things can be forms of trying to get away from your experience. But meditation is something that brings you more creatively into your experience. So it's something that actually works, as I said in the tagline for the course. Meditation is also not about controlling your experience. It's more about learning to work with your experience and shape it in that way. But you can't control your experience, I'm afraid. And it's not about going off into some trance or going blank or whatever, as we'll see when we do it. Okay, so I think that's all I want to say for now about what meditation is. Don't forget that you can send messages, questions to Kevin if you have any questions, and we'll try and get them. Okay, so what we'll do next is I just want to look at posture a bit and how to sit comfortably for meditation. So that's quite important. So if you're normally in the Buddhist Centre, what we would do is we get you all to sit in 3 different postures. You can sit cross-legged, you can sit kneeling, or you can sit in a chair. Now, and I go around and I check all your postures and make sure they're correct. Now, most of you probably won't have meditation cushions at home and so on. So I think what's probably best for most people is if you just sit in a chair. If I'm just going to adjust my webcam very slightly. So you can see my cushions there. So if you want to sit on the ground, there's a couple of things to say. So you have to, if you're going to sit cross-legged, there's certain criteria. One is that your knees are on the ground. You can't quite see that, but they're not in the air like that. Your knees have to be on the ground and your ankles are in front of each other, not crossed like that over each other. So you want to be on the ground with your knees. Now, most people won't be able to sit like that. So I can't recommend sitting like that. But if you're a yogi, you might want to, you can sit like this and it can be quite comfortable if you can do it right. But really, I'd say don't worry about it for now, because if you do it wrong, it can be quite painful, to be frank. After a few minutes, your knees get sore and so on. You can also sit kneeling like this. My cushion doesn't quite work for this one, but you can also sit kneeling like that. You want to be reasonably high. The main thing is if you're sitting on the ground, you want an openness across the chest and you're upright like that. But I think what most of you I'm going to ask you to do is to sit in a chair. So I'm just going to grab a prop. Okay, so you can sit in a chair. And how we normally sit in a chair is we kind of slouch like that. And that's not going to work for meditation. So what I'd recommend is getting a reasonably firm chair if you can, and putting your sitting bones right back into the back of the chair like that. So you're upright like this. And basically what you're looking for in meditation is that your chest is open and you're upright, and but you can also relax as well. So it's not unnatural. If you're sitting in a couch or whatever, that can work, but just make sure maybe put a cushion behind your back here so that it keeps your lower back kind of, what you want is you want your back to be kind of like that, rather than like that, if you see what I mean. Concave rather than, what's the other word? Converse, I think it is. Convex. Convex, thank you, Kevin. So, so you're like this, really, in the chair. And I find that sometimes it can be nice if you stick, if you have something like this, if you put a block or two under the back legs of the chair, that can actually, or a telephone book or a briquette or something, that can be nice to do as well. And you might want to check the height. So that's a bit more comfortable. I find I'm most comfortable when my knees are a little lower than my hips, and you're just upright like that, or you can sit right back into the chair to support your lower back, and then you're like that. You could try that out yourself during the week. Again, you'll have the recording if you want to come back to this. But really, you just want to be upright. That's the main thing. So see how you get on with the meditation we're going to do now, and you can always adjust it for the next time. But if you're on a big pile of pillows and you're not really upright, you might want to just try and find something a little more firm. But just do what you can for now. I mean, if you need to move in meditation, just move very slowly and carefully. Yeah. So that's a little bit about posture. Let's see. So what we're going to do then is we're going to do a period of meditation now, or a practice now for about 15 minutes called the body scan. And the body scan is a technique which just brings us into our bodies. It really is just a scan of your body. Is it okay to have feet on bar of kitchen? Whatever. So someone's asking, do you need to have your feet on the ground or up on the bar of a kitchen table? I think whatever's most comfortable. I would probably say you're better off on the ground, but if your feet can't quite reach the ground, you might want to put a cushion underneath them so they're warm as well. I think after a few minutes of having your feet on the bar, unless you've got kind of slippers on, it might get a bit uncomfortable. Remember that you'll be sitting for about, 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes sometimes. So what's comfortable for about 30 seconds may not be comfortable for, the whole meditation session. Okay, so the body scan. So I'm going to talk us through that, and what we'll do is we'll bring our awareness around different parts of our body. And as best you can, you just be aware of what you can feel at that point. Now, there'll be definitely parts of the body where you just don't feel very much. And there's bits of the part of my body where I don't feel very much, even after meditating for 20 years. But what you do is you just try and be as aware as you can of what you can feel. So I'll talk us through that now, and I'll say a bit more about it afterwards, but it's a lovely practice just to get us a bit more in our bodies, to get us a bit more relaxed and at ease in ourselves. So why don't you just take a moment or two to make yourself comfortable so you're upright and alert. Maybe taking a deeper breath or two down into your belly. Closing your eyes when you're ready, if you haven't done so already. And as you breathe down into your belly, just seeing how it feels being seated here. And then letting the breath return to normal. And we'll begin the body scan by moving our attention down into our feet. So seeing what we can feel in our feet. Can we feel the feet in contact with the floor? With the cushions, with whatever we're sitting on? Can we feel the temperature of the feet? Or perhaps the fabric of our clothing, our socks, our tights? And being open to whatever we can feel, if you can't feel very much. Can we feel the soles of our feet? Can we feel our big toes? How many of the other individual toes can we feel? Or is it just a general sense of our toes? Becoming aware then of our ankles, even if it's only where the ankles are on our legs. Becoming aware of our calf muscles and our shins. So letting go of any holding or tightness in the calf muscles. Becoming aware of our knees, maybe feeling the fabric of our clothing over the fronts of our knees, the sides of the knees. Being open to the sensations at the backs of the knees. Becoming aware of the thigh muscles, letting these strong muscles just be, letting them go. Becoming aware of our sitting bones in contact with the chair, with the cushions, with whatever we're sitting on. And just letting the chair, the cushions support our weight a bit more, letting go into that support. Relaxing the buttocks. Becoming aware of the shape of the hips and the pelvis. Becoming aware of the groin. Then moving into the lower back, seeing what we can feel in the lower back. Can we feel the backs of the kidneys? Can we feel the muscles around the spine? And then moving up the muscles either side of the spine, up along the back, up between the shoulder blades and up to the base of the neck. So moving slowly up along these, allowing the muscles to open as if you're opening a zip slowly up along your spine. Becoming aware of the muscles around the shoulder blades and the shoulders. Being open to whatever textures of sensation we can feel here. There might be tightness, there might be aches, there might be pain, there might be feelings of relaxation. Just opening to whatever is there. Becoming aware of the neck and throat, the back of the neck in particular, and the throat. Checking that our jaws are not clenched, that they're relaxed. Checking that our tongue is relaxed, our lips are just closed or just slightly open. Becoming aware of the cheeks and the nose. Our eyelids are just closed. The eyes don't have to do anything right now. We're not frowning. Being aware of our forehead and eyebrows. Seeing if we can feel our ears and the sides of our head. back of the head, the crown of our head and our scalp. And now imaginatively relaxing the space behind the eyes, behind the forehead, relaxing the brain if we can, easing any pressure that's built up, any aches, any pains, just letting that soften and dissolve if we can. Letting go of holding on to the aches, letting go of pressure. Moving our awareness down into our arms now, becoming aware of the muscles of the upper arms. Again, letting go of any shape or holding or tightness. Becoming aware of the bend of the arm at the elbows. Becoming aware of the forearms, and again, letting go of any holding here. Becoming aware of the wrists. There can often be a lot of energy in the core of the wrists, seeing if we can tune into that. The backs of the hands. The palms of the hands. Becoming aware of the fingers and thumbs, all the sensations we can feel in the fingers and thumbs. Now bringing our awareness to our stomach and abdomen area. Letting this all just relax, letting any tightness here just, or tension here just flow down into the floor. Becoming aware of the sides of the body from our hips to our armpits. And then resting for the last few minutes in the rib cage, in the chest, and the heart. Just being with the movements of the rib cage in particular as we breathe in and out. And with each out breath, just relaxing that bit more, just letting go that bit more into simply sitting here. And then start to bring the practice to a close, becoming aware again of the room around us, the sounds we can hear. Any people in our building or in our vicinity. Starting to reintroduce movement slowly and appropriately, wiggling fingers and toes, making whatever movements or stretches you want to make. And in your own time, opening your eyes. Sorry, no, I've just lost my notes. I have to bring them back up again. Okay, so that was the mindfulness of breathing practice, and I hope you enjoyed it. You can comment in the chat box if you want. It's a really nice practice for helping us just be more, well, embodied, really. The chap who taught me to meditate, Ratna Bandhu, he used to say he's sometimes asked, sometimes people would ask him, did people have out-of-body experiences? And he replied something like, he thought most people were having out-of-body experiences most of the time. And I think what he meant by that is that so often we're not really in our bodies. We're kind of up here, or even maybe up here, and that doesn't really count as such, because life takes place down here, and we really need to get back into our bodies in a helpful way, in a healthy way like that. So I think it's a really good practice for helping us to undercut a lot of the cyclic thoughts and worry that we have. It's a really nice practice to do. You can do it lying down as well, say in your bed if you're finding it hard to sleep and things like that, Okay, so that's kind of the first half of the course, first half of this morning's course over. Just as a kind of a slight commercial break, I just wanted to tell you about our website. So on our website, dublinbuddhistcentre.org, Kevin maybe will share this now in the chat. We have a whole list of online events that you can check out, dublinbuddhistcentre.org/online. And because we've gone completely online due to the lockdown, there's lots of interesting things there you could check out. A lot of them are for people who have learned to meditate before, but you're in the process of doing that. But a lot of them aren't. We have occasional talks as well that you can join into online, and it's all for free. And the other thing that we're doing at the moment is every weekday we have a thought for the day, which is a little video, maybe 3 minutes to between 3 and 8 minutes long, just some kind of a teaching on Buddhism or a reflection to think about during your day and so on. And I think we're up to about 5 weeks worth there. So there's lots of videos you can check out there as well, with lots of really interesting stuff. Yesterday was Poetry Day. So we had Mitra Bandhu, who's a published poet and member of our order, discuss one of Robert Frost's poems about what happens when we die. It was a very interesting one. So you can check them all out on our website. The other thing to say is that the Dublin Buddhist Centre is a charity, and we're offering this course completely for free. We're very happy. We had lots of people book on for free, and that's great. We are almost entirely dependent upon donations at the moment. So if you want to, and you're in a position to give a donation, that would be very, very much appreciated. Basically, the more financially stable we can be, the more things like this we can offer to people. And our main costs are a small team which kind of organize and coordinate all these kinds of events. And so it'd be really great if you can give a donation. Kevin will put up the link as well. There's a shorter link as well, just dublinbuddhistcentre.org/donate. And if you're in a position where you can give loads of money, that'd be great. If you can only give like $5, that's fine too. It all helps with what we do. And normally we ask for about between 90 and 170 euros for courses on a lot when you're in person. And so if you want to give that, that'd be great. If you can only give a $5, that's fine too. If you want to give something in between that, if you're not in a position to give anything, that's completely fine too. The main thing is we want to make these things available to people, but you can help us do that and continue to do that by donating. Okay, and I'll send those links out in the notes afterwards if you do want to come back to that again. Okay, so on to the second half then. Let's see, there was a couple of questions, or there was a couple of comments. I find it hard to feel different parts of my body. Can you help me with this? That is very normal. So the main thing to do is not to worry about that. I didn't get much past my second toe when I was trying to feel all my toes earlier. I don't know how you guys got on. Maybe you found it hard even to get the first toe. But it really do not worry about that. That is just what you're doing here is you're trying to get better at it. And it's the getting better that's the important part, not whether or not you can feel all your toes or you can feel all the different parts of your body. So what you're trying to do is move in the right direction. That's what's really enjoyable and that's what's really fruitful. So if you can't feel much in a certain part of your body, well, just be curious as to what you can feel. And that's the practice, just being curious as to what you can feel. So don't worry if you can't feel much. And I think it'll still have a real effect. And I think it'll still have, I think you'll still see the benefits from doing it in that way. Yep. So thanks for that question. And good to hear people enjoyed it as well. Okay, so the second part then of the of the morning. Let me just change my meditation posture slightly here. So the second part of the morning, I want to look at mindfulness and the mindfulness of breathing. So, mindfulness is a term which you've probably all come across. It's very common these days in the meditation world. There's a lot of meditation courses out there offering mindfulness and mindfulness courses. And in a way, it's very simple, and in a way, it's quite difficult to explain. So the simple version is that mindfulness just means being aware. So it just means being aware. So earlier on, you were being aware of your body and the different parts of your body. So that was you being mindful of your body. And it's very simple. It's something you can practice anywhere. So you can practice it now sitting in your chair. You can practice it. Well, normally I'd say like you can practice it on the bus on your way to work, although that might not be an option for most of us anymore. You could practice it on your walk. You could practice it while you're chopping your vegetables for your dinner. You could practice it while you're looking out the window at the birds. So simply being aware of what's going on for you. And it's not particularly Buddhist or religious. It's just being aware. It's just a quality that we all have as human beings. Yeah. And through being mindful, you can start to see that, being aware, being mindful has a big effect on our states of mind. Often we're very selectively aware. So we're only aware of that thing which is worrying us. And we're not aware of everything else going on in our experience. We're not aware of our bodies. We're not aware of the range of everything else going on around us. We're not aware of the lovely sun coming in through the window, So being aware helps us deal with the stories, with the concerns that we have. It helps us really appreciate things. The Buddha said, by being mindful, we become more wise and more free. So we become more wise and more free. So who doesn't want to become more wise and more free? And he said that mindfulness is the direct path to freedom. Yeah. So being mindful, I guess that the main one I like as an idea for what mindfulness is I think of it as inhabiting your experience, turning up for your experience. So having a vivid experience of what's going on. So instead of being somewhere else, I don't know if you ever get that experience where you feel like you're a passenger or you're kind of like an independent observer in your life sometimes when things happen to you. You're actually in the experience, you're really fully there and you can really enjoy it and appreciate it. So I think it's a simple, but it's a really radical thing to do to cultivate mindfulness. And really the way you do it is you just be aware. You just be aware. And but that's harder to do than to say. So what we do then is we have these practices like meditation practices, like the mindfulness of breathing and the body scan, where we cultivate mindfulness or awareness systematically. And that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to focus on the breath. and the breath that we breathe in, the breath that we breathe out. There's different things you can focus on. So you could focus on a candle flame like we have in the shrine here. You could focus on a mantra. Some people do that. Various different things. But the breath is very simple, very lovely. It can really tune us into how we're feeling. It's always there with us. You don't need to buy props to have the breath. And there's also a poetic quality to the breath. You know, the breath is life, you could say. We breathe in our first time when we're born, and there will come a day when we breathe out our last time. And if it is, someone's just asked a good question, and if it's a bad experience, well, actually, mindfulness, I mean, sometimes if we just have to remove ourselves, we will remove ourselves. But mindfulness tends to help you deal more creatively with the experience. And I find even if you try and not think about something that's stressing you, it tends to be there anyway in your experience to a certain degree, and coloring and undertoning things. So mindfulness helps us to really take things in properly and really deal with it creatively, rather than just kind of cutting off from it. For example, just a very simple example is people with chronic pain in their bodies. They found that through turning towards it with mindfulness, the pain levels that they experience, that they say they experience, goes down dramatically. And I think it's much the same for emotional difficulties, being really mindful and being aware of it, but in a very kind of particular way where you're not lost in it or overwhelmed by it. It tends to help things pass through more quickly. And when I feel a bit bad and I don't really want to meditate, the best thing to do is to meditate, because it just seems to wash through more quickly when you are aware. So awareness has a powerful effect on painful states of mind. And awareness also has a powerful effect on positive states of mind where we're feeling well. It tends to enhance them and deepen them as well. So it really is a really good thing to do that really works. Yeah. And again, it's easy to talk about this, but you're going to practice it now and try it out during the week and see for yourselves, hopefully. So we're going to focus on the breath. We're going to stay with the breath. And whenever we wander off from the breath, we're going to keep bringing it back to the breath. And what we're doing is we're setting up the habit of noticing when we're not focusing on what we want to focus on. So when we go off and focus on something else, we bring it back again to the breath. And we're setting up the habit of noticing where our mind goes and bringing it back to something that we can get absorbed in. And by doing that, it's quite hard to explain, but by doing that, it tends to spill out then into the rest of your life. And you tend to notice things more and be more mindful off the meditation cushion. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to remain aware for 20 minutes of the breath in this meditation. And that's quite an ask in a way. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it in different stages. So let me just share the stages of the practice. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. So this is over 20 minutes or so. So each stage is equal time. So we'll do it for about 4 or 5 minutes. There'll be a bit of setup and a bit of finish as well. And in the first stage, we're mindful of the breath. And to help us do that, we have a very quiet count after the out breath. So when you're meditating, you're just with the breath at its own pace. You breathe in, you breathe out, and then you add a count 1. You breathe in, you breathe out, you add a count 2. You breathe in, you breathe out, you add a count 3, and so on. And when you reach 10, breathe in, breathe out 9, breathe in, breathe out 10, you start again at 1, breathe in, breathe out 1, yeah? And the count is quiet and internal, and it's just there in a way, just as a way of staying with the breath. The breath is the main focus, yeah? In the second stage, it's a little bit similar, but a little bit different. We have the count before the in-breath. So we count 1, breathe in, breathe out. 2, breathe in, breathe out. 3, breathe in, breathe out, and so on. And when you reach 9, breathe in, breathe out. 10, breathe in, breathe out. We then start again at 1. And the aim isn't to get through so many 1 to 10s in these 2 stages. The aim is to try and stay with the breath. The main focus is the breath. And also it's worth saying it's the breath at its own pace. Throughout this practice, you're not trying to control the breath. You're just letting the breath be already there. The breath is already there for all of you. I know this for sure, unless you're very strange indeed. And so you're just being aware of the breath as it already is. In the third stage then, and I'll lead us through this in the practice so we don't have to remember this, we're mindful of the breath without any kind of count. So we're just aware of the in-breath, we're aware of the out-breath. We can also be aware of things like, well, where does the in-breath become the out-breath? Where does the out-breath become the in-breath, and so on. And you're just trying to get really interested even more fully in the breath here, and seeing just how simple it is. You know, it really is just a lovely, simple thing. All you have to do, the only job you have to do in this meditation is just simply be aware of the breath. You don't have to worry about anything else. That'll all be waiting for you when you come out if you want. Just be with the breath. And then in the fourth stage, so first of all, this is a bit simpler than it sounds here in the text, but what we do is we become aware where we first feel the breath enter the body. Where's the first point you can feel the breath? So it might be on your nostrils, might be in the bridge of your nose, it might be in your lips, it might be somewhere else in your face, around your mouth. And you take a little bit of time to see where that is. And then you bring your awareness to there and notice the breath at that point as you breathe in and as you breathe out. So you might notice the breath in and out at your nostrils where you can first feel the breath. And that's a bit more subtle again, so it will ask a bit more of you, but by that stage you'll have a bit of momentum built up as well. So there are the 4 stages, and I'll remind us of those as we go through the practice. Just a few final points. So it's not about controlling your breath. So just to re-emphasize that, it's not breath exercises, it's not pranayama if you've done yoga and things like that. Just let the breath be normal and let the breath be natural. And if your mind wanders off, and your mind probably will wander off, if your mind does wander off, that's okay. So your mind will wander off. That's just what your mind does a lot of the time. So what the practice is not about is getting it perfect in terms of just being fully focused for the whole 20 minutes. What the practice is about is trying to be with the breath as much as you can. And the practice is about noticing when you wander off and bringing it back again to the breath and starting again. And if you're in the first 2 stages, you start the count again from 1. Okay, don't worry about remembering, was it 6, was it 7, where was it, because you'll just spend 3 minutes trying to remember. Yeah. Don't worry if you wander off, and the count isn't cumulative, so it's breathe in, breathe out 1, breathe in, breathe out 2, breathe in, breathe out 3. So it's not breathe in, breathe out 1, 2, 3 or anything like that. The other thing to say is that you can breathe through your nose, you can breathe through your mouth, whichever is most comfortable really. So usually people breathe through their nose in my experience, but sometimes if you're blocked up or you're a bit sinusy, or if it's just a bit more comfortable to breathe through your mouth, then breathe through your mouth. There's no real proper way between the two. I prefer my nose when I can, but sometimes when I have a cold, I have to breathe through my mouth. It's up to you. Whatever way feels most natural, really. Yeah. Okay, I think that's about it. I don't see any more questions. So I hope that's answered your question, Ali. Okay, so why don't we get ourselves set up again, just sitting comfortably and upright. Okay, so just settling in again to sitting here, closing your eyes when you're ready. Just seeing how it feels to be sitting here right now. How does your body feel again? Maybe taking a deeper breath or two, really filling the lungs and opening across the front of the chest as you breathe in. Then breathing out again. And another deep breath. And breathing out again. And a final deep breath. And as you breathe out, keeping the openness across the front of the chest as you breathe out. So you're upright and alert. And then letting the breath return to normal. Maybe just feeling your sitting bones in contact with the chair or the cushions, feeling your stomach, just to ground ourselves again in our torso. And now just allowing an awareness of the breath to emerge, the breath at its own pace. You don't need to force it or grab it. It's having a relaxed awareness. If you find at any stage you're controlling or grabbing the breath, just try and relax with each out-breath. Relax that control with each out-breath. And doing the in-breath in a relaxed way as well. And remembering our intention then to stay engaged with the breath. Our intention is to keep coming back to the breath when we wander off. To not worry the fact that we've wandered off, just to come back to the practice and re-engage again. Not giving ourselves a hard time if we do wander off. And now in the first stage of the mindfulness of breathing, we'll be aware of the count, and we'll add a count after we'll be aware of the breath, and we'll add a count after the out breath. So breathing in and out 1, in and out 2, and so on. And when you reach 10, start again at 1, at the breath's own natural pace. And if you wander off at any stage, that's perfectly okay. But just bringing yourself back to the breath, back to the practice, and the count again from 1. Really trying to see if you can feel the breath in the body rather than up in the top of the head. The body breathing. If we wander off, coming back again to the practice. And now in the second stage, what we're going to do is be aware of the breath. And this time we'll have a count before the in-breath. So it's 1, breathe in, breathe out. 2, breathe in, breathe out. And so on. When we reach 10, starting again at 1. with the main focus being on the breath at its own natural pace. So being aware of where your mind is if it's wandered off. Just acknowledging you've wandered off, that's okay. Coming back again to the breath, back again to the practice, and the count from one before the in-breath. Noticing if we've wandered off and just coming back again kindly to the practice. And resolving to stay engaged with the practice once more. And now in the third stage of the mindfulness of breathing, we drop the count and we're simply aware of the breath. Simply aware of each in-breath, simply aware of each out-breath. And if we want, even aware of the spaces between them, where one becomes the other. So simply aware of the breath. So we've nothing else to do. We've nowhere else to be. Nothing else to think about. Just here with this in-breath. Just here with this out-breath. Letting everything else be for now. Just here with this in-breath. Just here with this out-breath. And now in the fourth stage, we begin by spending a few moments noticing where we can first feel the breath enter the body. So it might be in the nostrils, the lips, the nose, even the throat or the mouth. And now as we breathe in and as we breathe out, noticing the sensations at that point. Maybe you notice the temperature of the breath, the in-breath, the out-breath, how long it feels. Maybe it feels like wind going past that point. So being open to whatever it feels like, whatever the breath feels like at that point. And if your attention wanders off, that's okay. Just coming back to the practice, back to the body, back to the point of first contact and the sensations of the breath there. Where is our mind? Is it with the practice? Is it wandered off? And now letting go of the breath completely, staying with your eyes closed, staying in your posture, sitting still for now. Just letting go of the practice, letting go of any effort to do anything else, letting the mind do whatever it wants to do. And what we'll do is we'll just sit for a few moments, absorbing the practice. So just sitting, letting the mind do whatever it wants to do, but letting go of the practice. Okay, and now starting to broaden out our attention to take in the room around us. Any sounds we can hear, any people. Starting to gently reintroduce movement, wiggling fingers and toes. Slowly and appropriately coming out of your meditation posture if you wish. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. Okay, so you're officially meditators, if you hadn't been already. So you've done the mindfulness of breathing practice there. I hope you found it useful. Again, just to emphasize, don't worry if your mind wandered, or even if it wandered 20 times. That's just what the mind does. In a way, what makes the practice effective is noticing that and bringing it back again to the breath. So feel free to write any comments about how you found the practice there in the chat if you wish. So we've got about 8 or 9 minutes left. So what I wanted to do was just talk about home practice. So you have got homework, I'm afraid. And your homework is to do that practice again and the body scan again over the coming week. Now, hopefully you'll be able to join us next Thursday again for week 2 and week 3 and 4 and 5 and so on. I'll come back to some of your comments in a minute. But yeah, if you come along each week and just meditate with us each week on Thursday mornings, that's great. I'm really happy with that. You're very happy to come along. The more people meditating together, the better, I say. But if that's all that you do, you won't really get a real flavor of what meditation can do. You really do need to do it almost every day, or ideally every day, to get a real sense of what meditation can do for you. If you can do that for 5 weeks over these next 5 weeks, or 4 weeks now really, you'll really get a good sense and a good momentum built up. So I'd really encourage you to do it every single day. You might have to decide yourself whether to do it in the morning, whether to do it in the evening, whether to do it in the afternoon. I will be sending you out guided meditations. So you will be able to just hit play on the MP3 or whatever format you're using, and use that meditation to talk you through just as I did. I'd recommend you use those MP3s rather than Headspace or one of the other apps. It's not that there's anything wrong with those apps, but they're not quite the practices that we're teaching here. So it'd be better if we all did the same practices, at least for the next few weeks. Again, I'll send those out to you. Don't worry if your mind was busy and kept wandering. You just keep doing the practice. The main challenge, I think, for meditators is not so much what happens in meditation, it's getting on the cushion, actually. And once you get on the cushion, even if your mind keeps wandering, just sit for a few minutes afterwards and see how you feel. And you'll probably find that you're in much better form, even if it was a challenging meditation. Someone just said, difficult to do, but very rewarding. And in a way, that's exactly how it is sometimes, you know. Even if it's difficult, sometimes the difficult sits are the ones you feel best afterwards, you know. So again, I really want to hammer home, don't worry if your mind wanders off. If you find that you've had chronic pain and so on, one person's just messaged me about that, and your pain and your awareness has been drawn to the pain, just see if you can breathe into that and soften the pain. So usually pain is very tight and very hard, so maybe you can see if you can breathe into it and soften it. Or another thing you can do is try and, if it's one really big thing in your meditation, try and make it one of 5 things in your meditation. So as you're aware of the pain, also be aware of your stomach and the breathing down here and things like that. And that can go for any pain, or if your shoulders are sore, you know, or whatever, just try and make it one of more things, or also just try and soften into it. Let's see, let's just take a few comments. Felt a bit cold at the end. Yeah, myself and Kevin were here yesterday and the room got colder and colder. And by the end, we're a bit frozen. So it's good to wrap yourself up in a blanket if you can. It's a little bit of a thing because sometimes you can get too warm and fall asleep then as well. So let's see. Drifting off. Is it a good idea to have coffee before meditating? It can leave you a bit wired. It's up to you. You find out what your optimal caffeine levels are. For me, if I had a cup of coffee, I'd be bouncing around the place. But a better solution is just try and get more sleep. Try and get to bed earlier the day before. But yeah, I mean, a judicious use of coffee can be useful, but not too much, and maybe not immediately before. Yeah, it's normal to be feeling cold. How best to manage noisy and loud flatmates? If you can, ask them to be quiet while you're meditating. You might not have that luxury. I know people who had to meditate in their toilet. That was the only place they could, in their bathroom, that was the only place they could manage to do it. I remember meditating when I first learned to meditate. One of my housemates walked in and goes, "What are you doing?" And obviously I said, well, I was meditating, but not anymore. So I don't know, you just have to negotiate these things, and maybe some of it is trying to find a time that works best. You know, some people meditate really early in the morning before the kids get up and so on, or some people meditate at night when the house is quiet and the people have gone to bed. Okay, so what I want you to do now, I can keep answering questions, I can stay on a bit afterwards if you want to. Yeah, it's a case of keep practicing. Thanks for that question, iPhone. So it's just keep practicing, keep doing it anyway, and you'll still feel the benefits. So what I want you to do now is I want you to decide, when are you going to do the practice tomorrow? Okay, specifically tomorrow, when are you going to do it? So what I'm going to ask you to do each day is one day do the mindfulness of breathing. I'm sorry, one day do the body scan, the next day do the mindfulness of breathing. Body scan, mindfulness of breathing each day. And that's your home practice. And you can listen to the guided meditations. You can read the notes as well. So it'll take about 20-25 minutes each day. And if you can't find 20-25 minutes in your day, you really need to look at your life. I'm being a bit tongue-in-cheek there, but you know, you are the one who decides what you do with your life. So really try and decide. Yeah, so I've just answered your question there, Mark. So it'll take about, the guided meditations will take about 20-25 minutes. The body scan's about 20 minutes. The mindfulness of breathing is about 25 minutes. So I want you to write in the chat box now when you're going to meditate tomorrow, because that'll give it a certain weight and reality. You've shared it with all 57 of us, so then you'll have to do it tomorrow. If you don't know how to work the chat box, don't worry, but you can. It's at the bottom on your computer if you move your mouse over the window. So, okay, we're already getting through 10:15 a.m. That's great. 11 a.m. tomorrow, good. So I like to do it first thing in the morning when I get up. Some of my friends do it after breakfast because they feel a bit more awake after that. Everyone's in the morning. Oh, one person's 10:30 at night. That's good. 11 a.m. before a yoga class, great. 9 a.m. morning, every morning when I get up, good. First thing in the a.m., great. So I'm going to, I won't hold you to all that. I'm not going to record the chat and come back to you next week about it, but hopefully you do it. And I think, again, the main difficulty you'll find is getting on the cushion. Don't worry too much about what happens when you get on the cushion. Just keep doing the practice. And good, thanks. That's great, Joe. And your posture might be an issue as well. So hopefully you're comfortable there and alert and upright. So you might need to do a bit of work on that as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, Kevin, let me do this if you don't mind. So I'm going to put on my headphones, and if you want to, I'm doing this so I can hear you, because if I don't put on my headphones, we'll get an echo between the two mics. I'm going to give you the ability to unmute yourself. I won't unmute you just in case there's a, large noise going on in the background or something. But if you want to unmute yourself, let me just see if I've got this right. Yeah, you can unmute yourself now, and you can just say hello to everyone and goodbye or thank you or whatever. And I'm happy to answer any questions as well. I'm happy to stay on, but the course is over now in a minute, so feel free to leave whenever you need to. And I'll keep looking at the questions as well. You can unmute yourself at the bottom. Anywhere you would recommend buying a meditation cushion online. If you simply type meditation cushions online UK, you'll generally tend to get good places. I've bought stuff from Blue Banyan before, if you see them. I'm not sure if they're still in existence, but just type meditation cushion online. Oh, there's one more thing to say as well before you go. Don't forget, if you want to give a donation, we'd really appreciate it. I'll send you out the link for the donation as well. You could decide now while you're in a good state if you want to give a donation, rather than when your life takes over again. Okay, I think maybe if there's no more questions, why don't we leave it at that? And best of luck with your meditation practice during the week. It's very nice to meet you all, even if it's only online.